Here's Brody Brazil.
We've known for quite some time now that Major League Baseball is really trying to revitalize the role of the dominant starting pitcher. And for as much as they're inspired to make it happen, it appears now they might be actually ready to do something about it, potentially implementing this 6-inning minimum rule for starting pitchers across baseball. This according to a report by ESPN, by the way. I will link to that down below. But ESPN.com giving us all the details and information and some perspectives on it. The rule is pretty simple to understand. Starters have to go 6 unless, and there's 3 caveats, unless, which we'll get to in just a second. Before anything else, though, I think we can and should all agree on this. Number one, hardly any starters ever even make it to the 200 innings pitched mark per season anymore. That used to be kind of a benchmark, an accomplishment. Dozens, if not hundreds of players could accomplish that in a single season. Now we're literally down to a small handful per season of starters that ever get to 200 innings in a single season. And it does feel like the days of the dominant starter are gone. Where is the Randy Johnson and Dave Stewart and Roger Clemens and even Tim Lincecum? I mean, it just feels like within the last 10 plus years, baseball has really lost its starters. There are more emphasis on bullpen pitchers and closers, and baseball still has all the other star players, the big hitters, the great defenders. But the role of the starting pitcher has been diminished, in large part because of the increased desire for velocity and strikeouts. They just can't go as long in games anymore, and so you rely a lot more on the bullpen. And yes, injuries and strategy, a lot of times you see teams, they just don't want their starter to face a lineup for the third time around, so it equals a quick call to the bullpen. 2 things will get a starter out of a game quite quickly: the 100 pitch mark and seeing a lineup around for the third time through the order. So I think we can also all agree that Major League Baseball, if they try, if they diligently do this and they do it in a right way, they can probably find a way to kickstart the role of the starting pitcher. They can implement something. They can change the course of this trend. And I don't know if everybody will agree on it. And I don't know if 6-inning minimums is the right way or the wrong way or what's proper or what everybody's going to like and agree on. I just think that baseball can interject something here to change the course. You want proof about that 200-inning mark? So check this out. In about 4 to 5 season spans, like 1985 to 1989, the heyday of me starting to like Major League Baseball, 257 pitchers through those seasons, 85 to 89, reached the 200-inning mark. Obviously, all starters, but 257. Compare that to 2021 through 2023. I realize it's not a full 4 years. 3 years. 16. Look at the contrast, look at the trend, look at the direction we're going in here from top to bottom. Even when it went from 257 to 193, okay, that's a chunk, but then back up to 206 and 204 and 201. It kind of hovered consistently through the end of the 90s and the start of the 2000s, but then 2010 to 14 going down, 2015 to 19, the end of the 2010s decade way down. And here in the 2020s, it's basically non-existent that starters even get to 200 innings a season. The average start, I wasn't even aware of this, and actually this number seems surprisingly high to me. The average start in 2014, 5.97 innings of duration. I feel like that might have been about right. In 2024, baseball says it's about 5.25 innings per start, which also means for every start that goes 3, somebody has to make it like 7. See what I'm saying? 5.25 being the average. That's actually a higher average than I would have thought. Watching as much baseball as I do, it feels like 5 1/3 is pretty normal, but 5 1/3 also feels pretty good. We've seen 3 2/3, 4 1/3, 4 innings total. Those are all common numbers here in this day and age. At the AAA level, here in 2024, it's just 4.3 total innings. So basically 4 1/3 is the average start in a AAA minor league game. You can see, and I know that 5.97 to 5.25 doesn't feel entirely drastic, but it's almost a full inning less in the last decade alone. It's something to pay attention to here. We pick up the coverage from this ESPN article that, again, I'll link to down below. The commissioner's office wants starting pitchers to spend more time on the mound, pitching deeper into games, and obviously gaining a bigger profile, being a more important part of the game, and less time in the operating room and undergoing surgery on their arms. Oh yeah, that's also a big part of this. I know we're talking about game strategy and the profile of starting pitchers. How about a way so that they don't have Tommy John surgery as like a rite of passage? It feels like you're not truly a major league starter until you've gone through at least one TJ and other arm and elbow and forearm injuries, but I digress. Baseball also wants more balance in a sport that has revolved around strikeouts in recent seasons. And what they could have said there was velocity and spin rate and gripping that ball super tight and hard and throwing it as fast as possible. Quote, "We are interested in increasing the amount of action in the game, restoring the prominence." That's another good word. The prominence of the starting pitcher and reducing the prevalence of pitching injuries, an MLB official told ESPN. Quote, "There are a whole host of options in addressing those issues." So like I said before, there are ways Major League Baseball can interject a change of course to try and fix this, to try and alter this and the way things have been going. Some options are this, and I've just kind of pointed these out. You could, hypothetically, instead of changing the rules for the starters, you could tell every team they only get 3 total pitchers per 9 innings. So if your starter's getting blown out after 3, you take him out. Your next pitcher probably has to go 4. That gets you to the 7th. Then you only get 1 more pitcher to throw the 8th and the 9th if necessary based on the situation. You see what I'm saying? So you could implement that. It would inherently make the starter and pressure them to go a little bit longer in games. You could also have the double hook situation for the starter and the DH. So basically when a team's starting pitcher comes out of the game, correspondingly, their DH also comes out of the game. Now, you could do that at any inning. You could do that where if you pull the starter before the 6th, the penalty is you lose your DH the rest of the game. And now with the DH in both the American and National Leagues, this is obviously a rule that could logistically happen. You could also limit teams to only designate, like 6 total relief pitchers per roster. And that would mean that you don't have a couple extra arms to lean on, to rely on. It would just make the bullpen options a little bit more slim pickings. And so you would have to kind of rely on your starters more often than not. So about this 6-inning rule, you know there have to be some exceptions, right? This can't happen every single time. The way a starter could come out of a game before 6 innings total is this: 3 things. Number 1, if that starter reaches the 100 pitch mark, which I hate to say might happen more often than you might expect. Again, that doesn't cut down totally on the pitches and the velocity and the strikeout emphasis. The 100 pitch mark would probably get most starters out of the game before the 6th inning. I've watched a lot lately. It's just the way it's going. Or if that starter allows 4 or more earned runs. That doesn't seem like a high enough total. I feel like that number should be about 6. Think about it. 2 2-run homers, and if they're all earned runs, the starter can come out after 4. So we're not drastically changing the game. It's pretty common that through 5 innings, a team might have 4 runs on the scoreboard. With the amount of home runs especially that are being hit in these days, that's not impossible at all. And then this is the third and most interesting way for a starter to leave the game before 6 innings, if they're injured. Oh, but it's not just they say my arm hurts, my elbow hurts, dead arm, whatever. They have to go on a corresponding IL stint. Yeah, if you come out of the game as a starter before 6 and it's because of an injury, you have to go on the IL to prove that you were, actually hurt and not lying about it. There are some instant impacts. If they pulled this off, here's how a lot of people think the game would change. I agree with this quote from Mike Hazen, Diamondbacks general manager. He gave this to ESPN.com. Quote, "You would have to push command over stuff, like location over velocity, let's say, or movement. Pitching to contact would be the biggest thing to prepare guys to throw 6 innings on a consistent basis. There would have to be some pullback on velocity. Again, you can't strike everybody out, though that's a tough thing because that's where you get outs. That's what every team is going on in this day and age. Velocity equals outs, usually via strikeouts. If you swing and miss, you're not even putting the ball in play. I don't know. Is this going to be an issue for Paul Skeens? Will he have a problem getting through 6 innings every single time? But what would it mean? Like, in the end, if they implement this rule to get starters through 6, are you stretching them out and dragging them through this, and they're not going to gain that more prominent profile that we're all hoping for? We wouldn't maybe get back to the days of the dominant starter? Yeah, innings should be up because they have to be in there, but would starters be any better? And most importantly, would the game of baseball be any better if they implemented this rule? I want to know what you think about this in the comments section down below. Go ahead and load that up with your thoughts. I would really appreciate that. Also, since you made it here to the end of the video, thumbs up down below. That greatly helps me, this video, and this channel. I would like that, but I would love it even more if you just take 1 second right now before this video ends, go down there, make sure you've got that subscribe button on. Click that subscribe button. It guarantees me that I'll definitely get to see you back here next time.